3 months ago, I was scrolling through Facebook during my lunch break when I discovered that I was dead. Not just dead, I had apparently died of a sudden illness, had a beautiful funeral attended by hundreds of people, and my grieving widower husband had already collected a $300,000 life insurance payout. The only problem? I was very much alive, sitting in a Seattle coffee shop, completely unaware that my entire family had erased me from existence. My name is Serena, and this is my story. For over 30 years, I thought I was living the dream. My husband Damien was a sales director, and I owned a successful beauty salon. We had 3 children, Isadora, who was 32, Donovan, 30, and our youngest Zara, who was 28. I was the wife who did everything. I woke up at 5 a.m. to make Damien's coffee before his business trips. I never missed Isadora's important events. When Donovan started his business, I helped him with everything. I was Zara's biggest supporter through her graduate program. I managed our finances, organized everything, put everyone else's needs first. I thought I was building something beautiful with someone who loved me. In February, I got what seemed like the opportunity of a lifetime. A luxury hotel chain in Seattle offered me a 4-month contract to set up and manage their new high-end spa and beauty center. The money was incredible, more than my salon made in a year. The catch? I had to work on-site, across the country from our home in North Carolina. My first instinct was to say no. How could I leave my family for 4 months? But Damien was surprisingly pushy about it. Babe, this could change everything for us. The kids and I can handle things here. Even the kids seemed unusually supportive. Isadora said, Mom, you should totally go. Donovan nodded along. Even little Zara said she'd be okay. Looking back, should have known something was wrong. When had my family ever been eager for me to leave for months? But I was touched. I thought it showed how much they believed in me. The first few weeks in Seattle were normal. I called home every day. But slowly, things changed. The calls got shorter. Responses came later. Sorry, Mom, I was busy with work, became Isadora's standard excuse. I was dealing with clients, Donovan would say. Even Zara seemed distant during video calls, like she was being careful about what she said. When I mentioned this to Damien, he'd say, they're just becoming more independent. It's good for them. I convinced myself he was right. 2 months in, I decided to surprise them with a weekend visit. I booked a red-eye flight without telling anyone. When my taxi pulled up to our house at 8 p.m. on Friday, it was completely dark. No cars. I used my key, but the house felt empty. Not just of people, of life. I called Damien. Voicemail. Then Isadora. Voicemail. Donovan. Voicemail. Finally, at midnight, Damien called back. Serena? Why are you calling so late? I'm at the house. Where is everyone? There was a pause that lasted too long. Oh, we're at my brother's for the weekend. Jake's birthday party, remember? I didn't remember any conversation about a birthday party. I flew home to surprise you. Oh honey, I wish you told us. Something in his voice sounded nervous, but I pushed the feeling away. The last month was when things got really strange. Phone calls became rare. When I did reach someone, conversations felt scripted. Then, 2 days before I was supposed to come home, I saw something on Facebook that destroyed my world. I was taking a break when I saw a post from our neighbor, Mrs. Chen. It was flowers with a caption that made my blood freeze. Beautiful arrangement for the Rodriguez family during this difficult time. Serena was such a wonderful mother. She'll be deeply missed. I stared at my phone, reading it over and over. Difficult time? She'll be missed? With shaking hands, I started scrolling. What I found made me feel like I was losing my mind. Post after post about my death. People offering condolences to Damien and the children. Friends sharing memories of me in past tense. Then I found the post that made me scream. It was from Damien's Facebook, posted 6 weeks ago. It is with broken hearts that we announce the passing of my beloved wife Serena Rodriguez. She passed away peacefully after a sudden illness. In lieu of flowers, please consider donations to the Children's College Fund. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely scroll. Hundreds of comments. People expressing shock about my death. My own sister had commented, "I can't believe she's gone." My mother, Serena, was our sunshine. We'll miss her every day. I spent the next 2 hours investigating my own death. According to social media, I had died 7 weeks ago. There had been a funeral. People had sent flowers. I found photos from my own funeral. There was Damien in a black suit, looking devastated, with his arms around Isadora and Donovan. Little Zara was holding his hand, tears on her face. The casket was closed, which made perfect sense now. I saw my parents, my sister, friends, even some of my clients. Everyone was there, mourning a woman who was very much alive in Seattle. I found my obituary online. It was beautifully written, describing me as a devoted wife and mother, a successful business owner, a woman who put family first. Reading my own obituary was the most surreal experience of my life. Instead of calling Damien, I called Isadora's number. "Hi, Mom." Her voice was completely flat. "Isadora, I need you to explain Mrs. Chen's Facebook post about our family's difficult time." The silence stretched forever. "Isadora? Are you there?" "Mom, Her voice cracked. I can't do this anymore." "Can't do what?" I heard her start crying, and then the line went dead. I called back. The number was disconnected. Donovan's phone. Disconnected. Damien's phone. Disconnected. Even Zara's emergency phone. Disconnected. I was on a plane that night. When my taxi pulled up to our house at 10 p.m., it was dark. But this time, I noticed something I'd missed before. There was a "for sale" sign in our front yard. My key didn't work. They'd changed the locks. I used the spare key I'd hidden under Zara's ceramic turtle. The house was empty. Not just of people, empty of everything. No furniture, no photos, no sign we'd ever lived there. In our bedroom, I found a piece of paper on the floor. A bank statement for our joint account. The balance was 0. But I knew there had been over $200,000 in that account when I left for Seattle. I spent that night on the floor of Zara's empty room. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I was going to find my family. I went to Damien's brother Jake. He saw me and went white. "Oh my God. You're supposed to be dead?" "Yeah, I heard." "Where are they?" He eventually told me they'd moved to Arizona 3 weeks ago. Damien got a job transfer. "Where in Arizona?" "I can't tell you that. Damien said if you ever came back, we weren't supposed to tell you where they went." "If I ever came back?" "Jake, I was working." But he closed the door. I went to the police station and said, "I'd like to report a fraud. My husband faked my death, held a funeral, and stole our life savings." After seeing my ID, they brought in detectives. It turned out Damien had filed a life insurance claim for $300,000 just 3 weeks after my supposed death. The detective explained this was insurance fraud, identity theft, and kidnapping since he'd taken the children across state lines. Over the next week, they pieced together the full scope. Damien had been planning this for at least 8 months. He'd found a corrupt doctor for fake medical records. He'd worked with a funeral director willing to hold a fake service. Most devastating, he'd been having an affair for over 2 years. His co-worker Carmen had moved to Arizona, and the job transfer was part of their plan for a fresh start. "Your husband essentially erased you," the detective said. Police tracked them down in Phoenix 2 weeks later. I watched through one-way glass as they interviewed my children. Isadora broke down immediately. I knew it was wrong. Dad said Mom had abandoned us and didn't want to be our mother anymore. He said pretending she was dead was easier than dealing with abandonment. Donovan had a similar story. Damien had shown them fake emails I supposedly sent saying I didn't want them anymore. The most heartbreaking was Zara. He said it was like a game. When I was finally allowed to see them, the reunion was emotional. Isadora and Donovan apologized, still processing the betrayal. Zara threw herself into my arms, crying happy tears. But during the weeks that followed, as the legal case built against Damien, I made some hard decisions. Damien was sentenced to 6 years for fraud and custodial interference. Carmen was charged as an accessory. But here's what really matters. I realized that Damien had never been family. He'd been an actor playing a role. And my children, my own adult children, had participated in erasing me from existence. So I did what I had to do. I rebuilt my life, but I rebuilt it without them. I changed my will. Removed all 3 children as beneficiaries of my properties, my business, my retirement accounts. Everything now goes to actual family, my sister, my parents, charities that matter to me. I sold the family house that had been returned to me through the legal proceedings. Kept every penny. Used it to buy myself a beautiful condo in a city where none of them can find me. I changed my phone number. My email. My social media accounts. I disappeared from their lives just as completely as they'd tried to disappear me from mine. Donovan tried calling when he graduated high school. I didn't answer. Zara was the hardest. She was the youngest, but still a grown woman who made her own choices. I run a successful beauty salon franchise now. 3 locations across the state, with plans to expand further. I have a beautiful home with a view of the mountains, financial security that I built myself, and peace of mind knowing that no one in my life is capable of the level of betrayal I experienced. Do I miss them sometimes? I miss who I thought they were. But those people never really existed. The real Damien was someone who could plan my fake death while making my coffee every morning for months. Someone who could kiss me goodbye and tell me he loved me while secretly moving our money into accounts I couldn't access. Someone who could hold my funeral and accept condolences while knowing exactly where I was. The real Isadora was someone who could help convince her sister that mommy was dead. Someone who could stand at my graveside with tears in her eyes while knowing I was alive and probably worried sick about them. Someone who could disconnect her phone rather than tell me the truth when I called desperate for answers. The real Donovan was someone who could look his siblings in the eyes and participate in this elaborate lie. Someone who could watch his father manipulate and gaslight his mother and say nothing. Someone who could cash checks from the fake education fund that people donated to in my memory. And Zara? She was old enough to know better. At 28, she wasn't a confused child. She was a grown woman who chose to participate in convincing the world that her mother was dead. She learned that lying to the people you're supposed to love most is acceptable if it serves your purposes. Sometimes people ask if I think my revenge was too harsh. My answer is always the same. They had a funeral for me while I was alive. They cashed in on my supposed death. They took sympathy and money from people who genuinely cared about me. They traumatized my parents and my sister. And they did it all while looking me in the eyes and lying to me every single day. There's no revenge too harsh for that level of betrayal. People sometimes ask if I have regrets about cutting them off so completely. The only regret I have is wasting over 30 years of my life on people who were capable of such calculated cruelty. They wanted me dead and gone. They got their wish. I'm dead to them now, permanently. But unlike their fake death, mine is real and final. The beautiful thing about being declared dead and then coming back to life? You get to decide who deserves to be part of your resurrection. And they didn't make the cut. Looking back now, I wonder, were they ever really my family? Or were they just people who were very good at pretending to be family until it no longer served their purposes? Amian and my children were never really family at all. They were actors playing roles, and when it served their purposes, they ended the performance without caring about the devastation they left behind.
This is Family or Not, where we share stories that no one wants to talk about at family dinners.